So I don't have a whole lot that's new, but I have some additional thoughts on some of the stuff that we've been talking about. And as Kevin said, we'll use this space going forward. We'll talk legal updates on COVID. As more and more stuff starts happening in the Biden administration that affects employers, we'll use this time for that as well. One thing that I did want to point out, we talked about this last week, for those of you who are members, we had to use an overused word, an unprecedented year last year on hotline. Took a ton of calls, which we love talking to you guys. Took a ton of legal calls. Our top categories, in addition to COVID, are as listed here. And so for those of you who are members, please keep your questions coming. We're happy to hear from you. We love to talk to you. Okay, so I do want to touch again on FFCRA. As you all know, the paid leave provisions expired on December 31st, but well, that should be now President Biden, right? I did this last week and it was President-elect Biden. We all had proposed a change, but it hasn't taken effect yet. And I think, as we know, there's so much more going on with the federal government right now. This may not get priority, but just to recap, this is what FFCRA currently covers. It's for private employers with less than 500 employees, but the leave is no longer mandated. However, if you as an employer want to give the leave voluntarily, you're still eligible for the tax credit through March 31st. So I think we're all pretty familiar with the reasons under FFCRA. I just had a question somebody typed into chat or in the Q&A about whether or not anything related to vaccines was covered under FFCRA. Not right now. So time off to get a vaccine, time to recover from a vaccine, not currently covered by FFCRA. Who knows, maybe it will be if we get an extension of FFCRA. And then we all know that there's the additional, so we've got the 80 hours of paid sick leave, and then we've got the additional 10 weeks to deal with childcare issues or children who are not in school. And like I said, we've got the extension of the tax credit through March 31st. But what President Biden is now talking about is potentially expanding the covered employers. Okay, in the past, it's been smaller employers under 500 employees. The reason for that, as it was explained to us by the Department of Labor, was that the government thought that the larger employers would step up and do the right thing and give their employees paid time off. And some did, but not all did. So now this would expand to cover all employers. Potentially also increase the amount of leave. We're talking maybe 14 weeks of paid sick leave, and then increase the amount of payment up to $1,400 per week. Now, the difference between big employers and small employers would still remain. The small employers would still be able to get the tax credit. The big employers would have to give the paid leave, but they would not be able to get the tax credit. So stay tuned on that. As soon as we hear anything on that, we will definitely let you know. We'll get alerts out. We'll make sure that you're aware of it, but it doesn't seem to be on the immediate horizon, so we'll see. But then, the big topic that everybody's talking about, I've come back to this again and again, and I think this conversation really bears repeating, especially because I've had several conversations with members over the last week or so who are trying to mandate vaccines, and they're running into issues. And so I want to give you all the benefit of their experience. So again, we know vaccines are out there. We're hoping that more and more of us will be able to get vaccinated as the year goes on, just as Megan was talking about. When you're thinking about requiring the vaccine, very first thing you've got to think about is this limited availability. We're seeing that people who want to get vaccinated aren't able to get vaccinated right now. So that's a huge issue. So even if you are going to mandate it, what's your timeline going to be? I just had a member call me up. They said they mandated the vaccine and told everybody they had 2 weeks to get vaccinated. Well, 2 weeks came and went very quickly, and people weren't able to get the vaccine because of the limited availability. So what's your timeline? Employers can establish legitimate health and safety requirements that are job related and consistent with business necessities. So what does that mean? What kind of employer are you? Are you a healthcare provider? Do you deal regularly with the public? Are you in a facility where social distancing is impossible? If the answer to those questions is no, you're going to have a harder time justifying your reason for mandating the COVID vaccine. In general, the only employers in the past who have mandated flu shots were healthcare providers. So really think about whether or not you have a good reason. And of course, any policy that you have, and we do recommend if you're going to mandate this, put in place a written policy. We can help you with that. You've got to have exceptions for reasonable accommodation under disability and or religion. Okay, so you guys have heard me talk carrot and stick for weeks, if not months now, okay? So one of the interesting things, again, I was talking to a member recently, They have an unusually large number of employees in their workforce who are pregnant or trying to become pregnant or nursing moms. And that's a population with limited safety data. So even though, based on everything that we've seen, we believe that for adults, this vaccine is safe based on all the trials that have been done, based on all the people who've been vaccinated. There are certain populations for whom we have very limited safety data, and that includes pregnant and nursing employees. So what if you have a pregnant employee, you've mandated the vaccine, that pregnant employee goes to her physician, the physician says, you know what, I don't know. I can't say for sure if this is safe for you to take or not because we just don't have enough data. What are you as the employer doing? They're not, they don't have a reasonable accommodation situation, right? Because they don't have a healthcare provider saying that it's unsafe, that they can't take the vaccine, but they simply don't know and they're nervous. And they say, look, in 6 months, when I'm no longer pregnant, maybe when I'm no longer nursing, I have no problem taking the vaccine, but I just don't want to do it right now. What are you going to do with that? And another recent example I was just reading about, there was a nursing home in Bucks County called Neshaminy Manor in Warrington. They're a unionized workforce. Apparently at the height of COVID, or the first height of COVID back in the spring of 2020, they had a lot of the nursing home deaths. High proportion of their residents passed away. And so when the vaccine became available, the nursing home thought it was a no-brainer to mandate the vaccine for their employees. And as it turns out, only slightly more than half of the employees have agreed to be vaccinated. And now the employer's stuck. What are they going to do, right? They're getting fights from the union, but even more so, what are they potentially going to do, right? Are they going to fire almost half of their workforce because these folks don't want to get vaccinated? It's really something that you need to think through. And of course, the legal challenges, like I said, especially, for example, with this nursing home in particular, if the union starts to challenge, they could, and that's only an NLRB proceeding. That's not a federal court proceeding. They could find themselves tied up in litigation for months and months and months. And it could get very expensive and time consuming very quickly. So really something to think about. So you've heard me say I am much more of a fan of the carrot approach. Educate your employees about the safety of the vaccine. There is a lot of great information out there, CDC, Department of Health websites. Make sure your employees understand that for the vast majority of the population, this is a safe and effective, the 2 vaccines that are out there are safe and effective. Cost, it should cost your employees probably nothing, but confirm that and make sure that they know that. Make vaccination as easy as possible. It doesn't sound like yet, based on what Megan is saying, that we can do those vaccine clinics like we do with flu. But let's give people some time off, some paid time off to go get vaccinated. Let's help them find places to go get vaccinated, right? Let's give them paid time off, and maybe think about how about some paid time off to recover should they have a serious side effect. What we're hearing, I am back. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
All right.
The one thing that I was saying at the very end, I'm almost done anyway, but the one thing that I was saying is that what we're hearing about side effects is usually the first dose is a very minimal side effect, but some people are getting more serious side effects on the second dose. And that's really, from what I'm reading, that's your immune system kicking in and responding to the foreign substance that going into the body. So that's another thing to think about. Can we give people time off to recover? And I know the concern there will be about abuse, but to me, that's about people who are maybe on the fence about getting a vaccine. If they see how you're treating the people who've already gotten vaccinated, it might make them more likely to get vaccinated. So, and then the other thing is vaccination bonuses. We've seen a lot of the big retailers out there. I know Dollar General was one of them, saying that they're going to give their employees vaccination bonuses. What's the right amount? That's really your decision. It's going to depend on how many employees you have. But even just a small bonus might go a long way. I remember hearing about a health system that was doing $500 bonuses. Just something to think about. And then the other thing that's going to be happening, of course, is that we as employers are going to want to know once our employees have been vaccinated, can we ask for proof of vaccination? So EEOC has said that it's okay under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The issue there becomes once you ask somebody for proof of vaccination, they say, oh, I didn't get vaccinated. You want to be careful about asking them why not, because the why not question could elicit information about a disability, because the answer to the why not could be, oh, my doctor told me that I couldn't get vaccinated because of X, Y, and Z health condition. So just be careful about that. If you're going to require proof of vaccination, you just want the vaccination proof. You don't want to ask any follow-up questions. Okay. I know I've been trying to monitor questions. I was trying to monitor them while Megan was talking.
I think the last one is the only one coming through. What health benefits qualify under FFCRA? What qualifies under health benefit costs?
What's the question?
The very last one.
I can't see that one for some reason.
Okay. So the question was, what qualifies under the health benefit clause for FFCRA?
I don't think I understand that question. I mean, basically what we're talking about with FFCRA is these are the reasons for leave.
You get paid for leave. You get paid for leave, not for healthcare costs.
Right. Not for the healthcare costs, right? But you as the employer, I think when you're talking about vaccination, talk to your broker. I think the thought process is that this isn't going to cost anybody anything. So talk to your broker about how that's going to work. Hopefully it won't cost anything for your employees.
Okay, and I think you answered the question, but someone just asked, you can ask employees if they got vaccinated.
You can ask for proof of vaccination, but like I said, don't ask the follow-up question. If they say no, don't ask the follow-up question.
All right, well, hope everyone found this useful today. Again, I thought Megan was very agreeable to come on, and we'll try to keep a dialogue going with her so we can keep everybody as informed what's going on from the Department of Health as possible. So thank you once again, Amy, and we're glad to have you join us today. And next week, I believe we are discussing OSHA next week.
Next week is OSHA. We'll have our safety partner, CMI, on. Erin Rimza, for those of you who did PSO training over the summer. Erin did the PSO training. She's great. She's really good at breaking this stuff down and putting it into terms that lay people can understand. So join us next week.
Okay, and someone asked a question about unemployment benefits, and actually, if you're a member, give us a call. We'll have you speak with our employment comp partner, but we also are going to deal with unemployment compensation in 3 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Well, when we send a file today, we'll just identify the topics coming up for the next 3 or 4 weeks. But as always, I'd say register for everything, and then because something like today pops up, and it's good that you're kind of registered, and you can choose to join or not that day. All right, everyone, thank you, and we will send the slides out, and thanks very much. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, bye-bye.